Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hey, we're going to do something a little bit different this evening. We've been trying to keep things new and fresh for you. And you know what? Around my house, I live right near the mouth of the St. Johns River on Fort George Inlet, and there is a world of kayakers. I started kayaking 30 years ago. And kayaks sure aren't the same that they were 30 years ago, I can tell you that. But, oh my goodness, have they gotten efficient at catching everything from black bass to tarpon. I mean, I see them offshore, I see them inshore, and I want to know more about them. And I know just exactly who knows. We have a girl that works for Florida Sportsman, Jean McElroy. She is in her kayak almost every day, and she studies kayaks up one side and down the other. She can tell us which ones are best for offshore, which ones are best for freshwater, which ones paddle easiest, and which ones have got the best fishing setups. So we're going to spend a little time with her instead of spending a lot of time on the East Coast. I can tell you that spring has arrived on the East Coast. The dolphin are biting very well up and down the coast. There's some sailfish around, and the cobia migration seems to have pushed through and is at the very edge of the Florida-Georgia border now. But let's go ahead and bring in one Jean McElroy and find out everything we need to know about kayaks. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome the beautiful Jean McElroy to the show. Hello, Jean.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm great and happy to be on the show.
Are you in your kayak even as we speak?
I wish I was, but I will be this weekend.
I don't doubt that a bit. I don't doubt that. Jean, how long have you been kayaking?
Oh my God, forever. Forever would be about 2004 or 5, something like that.
Wow. When you were 6?
Yeah, I was
okay.
a baby.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take it.
All right. Who got you started?
It was just a kind of a weird fluke. I enjoyed kayaking, and I had been fishing, of course, since I was just a little girl. And I was invited on a trip on the Fish Eating Creek. That's what it was. And I was like, well, I'll just bring along my fishing rod for this canoe trip.
Right.
And I borrowed a kayak. Boom, had my fishing rod, and that's when I discovered it. I was like, wait a minute. So it was fantastic.
Oh, it certainly is. And I know you've done it just about everywhere. I want you to help me because Walmart, I went down to the Minute Market down there and they're selling kayaks. Gee, they're everywhere. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing kayaks for sale. Help me out with what makes a good fishing kayak. Is it length? Is it width? Is it what size? Help me out.
Oh my gosh, there's so many variables involved. I mean, it depends on what you're looking to do. Do you want to carry a lot of gear for like a fishing trip where you would be camping? But I would just say if I was going to go hit, say, my local Loxahatchee River, I just want a kayak that's stable. I tend to run about the 13-foot range.
Okay.
And I'm using a pedal kayak.
Okay.
Whereas previously I was using a paddle kayak.
All right. Now, the pedal kayaks, of course, are much like riding a bicycle. What's the advantage? Do they make better time?
I can get further. I can sit in a current. I work shorelines better. I get exercise. I love it.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, the only thing that bothered me about the pedal kayaks, Gene, when I thought about them was, wait a minute, I fish real shallow. Can you get the pedals up to where you're not sticking yourself in the mud?
Yeah. In my kayak, it's simple. I just pull the pedals right up, and I just pick up my paddle that's sitting on the side of the kayak, and I just paddle through the shallow area, and it's no problem at all. And when I get out to the deeper water, I just put the pedals back down. Easy.
Huh. I see. Okay. Now, the old style kayaks, and I'm going back a long, long ways before you were born, were real long and real skinny, and you sat down inside of them. It seems to me like most of the ones I see now, you're sitting on top of. Is that right?
Yeah. As I said on kayaks, the platform is so much better for storage and keeping all your, rigging your kayak with all your fish finders and rods and crates, and it's just, you have so much more room. And I like sitting up a little higher. Not too high, but just a little higher.
I think you can see better if you sit up a little higher. You agree?
You can stand too if you want.
Yeah, maybe not me. Maybe not so much.
Come on.
Come on now. I'm so tall I might tip over.
You'd be fine.
In all seriousness, they do now make kayaks that you can very comfortably stand on, can't you?
Yes, and that's the way it is with mine. I can easily just stand up, cast. If it's shallow, I can just lift the pedals up, and I can still stand up and cast around, and then easily sit back down. It's not a problem.
Okay, outstanding. Jean, I'm seeing and I'm hearing about. I know there's a guy here in Jacksonville, Jack Garnett, that's caught a bunch of tarpon offshore from his kayak. Are there kayaks that are built to go out in bigger water like that?
There are some big platform kayaks. They're heavy duty. You can just rig them out to the nine. They're incredible. You really want to have a good steady platform. That's really the priority. Looking into even the hull types you want to look into as well.
Now, why is that? Why the hull size?
Well, it's the way they cut through the water. Is it going to reduce sound? You want a kayak that's a little quieter, something that's going to cut through the waves.
I see.
That type of thing.
I see. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Now, you see some with rod holders, some without. Do you have rod holders on yours?
Yeah, they're built into the kayak, and as well, I have a crate that I put in it. And that has a couple rod holders on it. I'm a minimalist, so I usually only go out with 2 rods, which is very unusual for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a tournament, then I totally get it. I carry more.
I see. Okay. Is there a kayak trail? Is there a lot of tournaments?
There's a lot now. I'm impressed the way things have turned out. There's just so many to pick from and choose. Every variety from bass, big bass tournaments now to offshore tournaments. Whereas, back in like 2005, it was just rare. And when you did have one, it was very exciting to participate because you were one of a few. It was great.
Yeah. And now they're like every weekend?
Oh my God, they're great. Yeah, they're all over the place. You can get involved in big series.
Now, I have seen some beautiful pictures lately of you with some largemouth bass. The only thing, which means that you're fishing freshwater with your kayak. All right.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous at all? Snakes would scare the heck out of me if I was in a kayak.
No, I'm not worrying. I just stay in my kayak.
Okay. All right. Hopefully they'll stay in their tree or wherever they are.
I'm more concerned about manatees bumping me out.
Yeah. I can see that happening. There's plenty of them as we get up into the fresher water. That's for sure. All right.
That's right.
Golly, that just sounds so intriguing to me. Now, Dave East and I, when we were doing the Best Boat TV show, we actually had motorized kayaks one day. And that was, I got to be honest with you, that was cool. Have you had any experience with them?
They are incredible. Yes, they're a blast. You just get in it and go. You just get your lithium-ion battery, head out, and you're out there all day. It's fantastic.
Well, see, I look at kayaking so different than a lot of people do because in my other life, I ran a 43-foot $1 million sport fishing boat that constantly needed maintenance, and it took a day to get it ready to go, and it took a day to take it back apart after you fished and do all this stuff. I want my kayak, my paddle, 2 or 3 extra flies, and my fly rod, and of course my PFD. But that's it. I'm very much a minimalist when it comes to being in a kayak.
And that's what's great about kayak fishing. You can go as far as you want with as much gear as you want, or you can be as minimalist as you want. And you can have an electric motor, you can paddle, and everything in between. And that's what's fantastic about it. It covers everybody.
Now, how do you transport yours?
Mine is on a trailer because I got tired of car topping.
Yeah.
I just found it the easiest. I can just back it on a ramp. I can I can actually disconnect it and just park it next to my car if there's not much room in the parking lot. So it's the best option for me personally.
I see. Okay. Now, do you wear a inflatable PFD when you're in yours?
I have a couple of them. It depends on my situation. So if I was going to be alone out in the ocean, which I'm probably not going to be, but I would be wearing a regular life jacket. But I do wear inflatables when I'm, fishing inshore. Usually I just got an automatic inflating one. It's a vest style. And I also have a fanny pack style one, a little waist one for, different occasions. It just depends on the heat. It depends on the depth of the water, how many boats are flying by, that type of thing.
That's cool stuff. All right. So you think 13 feet is about the best length. I've seen them 9 and 10 feet long, and they look to me like they'd be awfully hard to hold straight. It seems
No.
No? No,
I think most of them are pretty stable. They have gotten they've improved everything so much. But a 10-foot kayak is great that you can, launch that in a freshwater river or something that's has some current. And you can maneuver it. But a 13-foot is just what I use the most.
Yep. Is it more stable than a 10-footer?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I feel pretty stable in both. No, I feel stable. Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed the first time I ever got in one, and I'm talking about the sit-on kayaks. I always felt like when you sat on top, you would feel like, oh, I could turn this thing over real easy. You really don't. I'm so comfortable in mine. I've got a 20-something-year-old Hobie Quest now that was like their first kayak they came out with, but I'm extremely comfortable in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my little home on the water. Yeah. I'm very comfortable. I have no concerns, and I'm very happy.
Now, I know a lot of people have put bottom machines on their kayaks. Do you have one?
I have it, and I use it once in a while. I haven't used it in a while. I would rig everything back up if I was doing a tournament. But when I'm just out and about hitting a river having fun, again, I keep it pretty minimal.
I'm with you. Hey, Jean, thank you so much for all your advice on what people should look for in a kayak. I would urge them to spend a little extra. Let me tell you what, I rubbed that Hobie so many times on a boat ramp that I finally wore myself a hole in the bottom of it that I had to fix. And with a cheaper kayak, I could never get along more than a year or two. I just fished too much. Get a good one. There's plenty of top brands. Jean likes 13 feet. I do too. You can slide them in the back of a standard pickup. Just make sure you flag them at the end so they just couldn't be any easier, and they are a great way to get on the water. Jean, good luck to you. When are you going again?
Oh, I'm Saturday. I'm going to Target. Snooker are in it. I'm going for snook.
Didn't I see you on the cover of Florida Sportsman recently with a very nice snook?
Maybe.
How big was that?
Yeah.
How big was that snook? And don't lie to me.
I think that one was probably 32. But I'm looking for a bigger one Saturday.
Okay. All right. I'm with you. Okay. Jean McElroy, thanks so much. We appreciate your time, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you all.
Bye-bye. How about that? I tell you what, for not a very big expense, you can pretty much fish anywhere you want to. I know there's lots of guys that are paddling out on calm mornings, fishing the pogey pods, catching tarpon, catching kingfish. You got to get back in before that sea breeze comes up, but it's a very easy way to fish. Talk about finding the fish. My buddy Jack Garnett, and I hope we have him one evening, he will stop everywhere that he can see the ocean, driving from Fernandina to St. Augustine on south to Matanzas, looking for tarpon blowing up in pogey pods. When he finds them, kayak goes in, Jack's there in a minute, snatch hooks him a pogey, and he is ready to go. Hey, it doesn't cost a lot of money to get out on the ocean and have a great time. Well, you know how we got to start our reports this evening with a quick stop in Nosara, Costa Rica to check in the purveyor, That's what you are, Craig Sutton. You're the purveyor of all things fishing in Costa Rica. How are you?
I'm good, sir, but that almost sounds illegal, Ricky.
Yeah, I think purveying may not be legal in some countries. That's correct.
Yeah, exactly.
The only illegal thing that ever happened in Costa Rica. Tell me how your fishing is, Craigie.
It's been pretty consistent, but the summer's almost over. There was a couple days last week that the winds didn't blow offshore in the morning, and the ocean started waffling a little bit, which is a kind of sign that fall's right around the corner for down there. So it's got another, I'm guessing, but I'd say 2 weeks maybe. Once that full moon passes in the middle of May, it'll probably go into the fall pattern, I would think. Now, maybe one more moon phase, but yeah, still good. Bigger numbers of sailfish. We're still catching the marlin. No giants, and real good dorado or mahi bite. I think last week we got a couple of them right at that 40-ish. Maybe one was a little over and the other was a little under, but a lot of nice fish, and some bigger yellowfin. They're starting to get a little bigger, but we haven't caught one over 200 this year, which is kind of unusual. Usually by this time we've caught at least 4 or 5 and lost, another 10 or 15. But it is what it is.
Yeah, do you have anything to attribute it to? Are you seeing as many pods of spinner dolphin as usually?
Yeah, this year we're still seeing the big schools of spinner dolphins, but I'm thinking that maybe the reason we haven't gotten as many sailfish is because the marlin were a little more prevalent.
Uh-huh.
And it was keeping the sailfish from biting. I'm not really sure. Who knows? But, the yellowfin, that may be the same thing. The marlin are in there and it's spooking them. I don't know. It's fishing, but, the end of May through August, if we don't catch 4 or 5 200-plus pound yellowfin, then I'd definitely be sounding the alarms. But, we caught a couple of them last week. We're in that 80, 90-pound range. That's a nice fish. There's nothing wrong with that, but, we'll see what the rest of the year brings.
Yep. All right, buddy. Long as the marlin are biting, sailfish are around, there's not going to be any hiccup days. That's for sure. That's fantastic. No. Craigie, as always, we appreciate it. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Shoot, I look forward to it. I'll be waiting with bells on.
Hey, Craigie, enjoy those kingfish. All right, talk to you later, bud. Okay, we're going to work our way up the West Coast now, starting with one Steve Dahl. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
The wind ain't blowing, Steve.
You know what? That's the highlight of my week. It's finally laying down, and it's looking good for the weekend. New moon. It's gonna be a great week. That's for sure.
36 ballyhoo rigged on ice, ready to go. Yep. I can't wait for daylight. Can we go ahead and skip tonight and go straight to tomorrow? Maybe I should leave this afternoon.
I'll meet you at the boat ramp.
A friend of mine just checked in from offshore. He is bringing 31 head of fat ones home. That's
nice.
That's quite a day. Quite a day. Tell me what's going on down in 10,000 Islands, Steve.
Well, kind of leading up to earlier in the week, the wind was the culprit. So we really haven't been doing much offshore or even near shore. So. And that's okay because there's probably no better time than late April into May to catch a true backcountry grand slam, and that's a tarpon, a snook, a redfish, and a trout. And all 4 are absolutely in play right now. If that's a bucket list achievement you're trying to do as an angler, now's the time to be able to get that done. So, the tarpon certainly have been stealing the show, but I got to tell you, it's hard for me. I like to tarpon fish for the first couple hours in the morning. I love to go snook fishing this time of year because a lot of it's visual. And Rick, as you know, I love to sight fish. It doesn't matter what it is. I like it, whether it's cobia, triple tail, tail and redfish. If I can see them, I want to catch them.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of my,
your triple tail season just didn't really happen, did it?
It really didn't. That's the second year in a row that it just kind of petered out, and we just kind of gave up given the time to it. And, now that things are kind of slowing down from a charter standpoint, from a seasonal aspect, I'll have a little bit more free time. I might go, right up until May, the next couple of weeks, and just kind of mid-May when they pull those traps, and just see if I can get, if there was something I was missing this year. But from everybody I've been networking with, man, it's been a tough 24 months for us. And traditionally we have exceptional triple tail fishing in our region. So it's just never saw the big ones this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, not here either. It's and a lot of it was a product of weather, Steve. When all through that March area, when we usually catch them off Northeast Florida, it was howling, and we couldn't have got there in a battleship. So it didn't really matter. But have you heard anything from the offshore guys?
Yeah, the wind, there's been a few select days in the last couple of weeks where guys have been able to get out, not terribly far. But the snapper fishing's really been, really consistent. There's football-sized mangroves out there. Our lane snapper, along with yellowtail snapper, albeit the yellowtail snapper on the small side, we've never seen. You can go 2 miles out off the beach and catch tiny little yellowtail snappers all day long. And I don't know what that is. We've never seen them that close. You push out, 5 miles, they're borderline keepers. Still have never seen those that close in our region. So I'm hoping that might bode well for, future years here. I don't know if we had just a migration of those juvenile fish, coming to our area, and they're going to stake up residency. And, I would love to add that to our repertoire here, because we just really have never had that. So between all this, snapper, there's a real consistent bite if you just want to get out and, fill the coolers and, get some good eating fish. So keep all that in mind. But I think with the wind laying down here in the near future, we're going to get back to normal and be able to get out there and permit fish, cobia fish, and, do all the things that late April and May in our area are indicative of. So.
Well, I tell you what, I am ready for 3 Mays. I don't want no more Februarys and Marches. Give me 3 Mays. As always, Cap, we appreciate it so much. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Oh, I can't wait. It'll be close to May.
Yes,
actually, it probably will be May.
Actually, it probably will. Thank you, Steve. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Captain Steve Dahl from 10,000 Islands. Steve was brought to you this week. All our action spotters are brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature together. By Tournament Master Chum. Oh, it's the best chum on earth, all right. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream destination. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. By Young Boats. You want the finest in flat span offshore hybrids, you need to check out youngboats.com. And by the Castaway Hat Company, the hat that's helping save our seas. The hat means it's time to move on up into Southwest Florida and check in with one Captain Greg Stamper. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Rick. I actually saw clean water this entire week for about 3-4 days, which has been awesome because the fishing got really good for that.
Tell you what, buddy, the wind has fallen out here. I've got a buddy of mine on the way home with 30-something mahi. Greg, it makes me want to sing about it. All my baits are rigged. I'm ready to go. I'm getting up at 3:45. We'll catch so many mahi, I will cry. Anyway,
man, you should call a producer. You're awesome at that. Today I got off the water and I was talking to my people about it. I said, this is why I tell people, like, we battle through all that hard stuff, the hard wind, the mucky water. I'm like, man, I just wish you could be here when it's the right time. And the right time happened this week for us, Rick. The back bays, you and I have been talking a long time. You probably remember when I couldn't catch a trout because we didn't have any.
Sure.
Today I caught my first trout over 7 pounds since our massive red tide 17-18.
How about that? That's fantastic. Yeah. Over 7 pounds.
It was right at the number, Rick, but I don't care.
That's
still
a pig.
Right there. It's a big fish. And I told him, I said, man, I got to wait so quick. I just picked it up, weighed it, put it right back in the water and let her go. But to me, that was such a great sign of things to come. Now, on top of that, we had a really good time this week with snook. The bait has finally kind of gotten into our back bays, which means the beach fishing, FYI, moving forward, for anybody who's on foot, hit those beaches early in the morning, spend about the first hour, hour and a half there, before people get out there. And don't be real close to the beach. 20, 30 feet off the edge is good. Those fish are going to be right in that trough, and they're going to be eating those white baits, and these are big white baits. So they've been there the whole time, Rick. We just couldn't find them. Now we can see them. It's easy picking.
Good deal. Good deal. Man, it's like I've said all week this week. Give me 2 late Aprils in May and no more February and March. We've had all of that we can stand. Right?
Yes, you're right. Now, the tarpon bite has been a little weird. They're not on the beaches right now as of today, but they have been in the back bays, and they were on the beaches about 3 or 4 days ago.
Huh.
The good part about that is that they're eating and they're ready to go. I don't think the spawn has started yet, but they're definitely getting their power, their Red Bulls in before that thing goes off.
That's what whitebait is. Red Bulls for tarpon, huh?
You got it.
All right, Cap. Listen, we appreciate your report so much, Greg. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Absolutely. Look forward to it as always, Rick.
Snook Stamp Charters. Thank you, Captain Greg Stamper.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalube marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalube full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalube marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to his name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with Menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to use second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. Our thanks to Greg Stamper for a great Southwest report. Now let's move on up to West Central, where one Ray Markham is large and in charge. How are you, my boy?
Larger than I like.
Me and thee both, and nowhere near in charge. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going with the flow.
But I want to hear about your fishing.
All righty. Well, actually, there's lots going on right now. On the offshore scene, there's a lot of concentration going on kingfish and Spanish mackerel night right now, because this coming weekend we've got the Old Salt Spring King of the Beach tournament. Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $250,000 worth of cash to throw out there. That's with the tournament and the tournaments and all that kind of good stuff. But still, I mean, it's one that we're probably going to see 500-600 boats in this tournament. I mean, that's been the rule for the last several years, with the exception of the COVID year. They didn't run it in spring. But, the fishing's been really good. Early mornings, there've been plenty of Spanish mackerel out just off the beaches. As things heat up during the day, they start to move out and get a little bit deeper, out to around 50, 60 feet. The guys trolling flat lines and number one planers just off the beaches, 20 to 25 feet of water, are doing real well there. And as they get further offshore, they're running some plugs, and they're running some number 2 and number 3 planers and picking up some nice fish. Along with those, they're catching some kingfish, but the most kingfish and the biggest seem to come off the deep shore wrecks that are 25 to 35 miles offshore. So that's going on. And then beginning of next month, May 1st on Sunday, we got Amberjack opening up. And I know everybody's getting out the liniment to see if they want to catch a few of those. Inshore, the fishing's been absolutely crazy, and it's going to get absolutely crazier as we come up to the new moon this coming Saturday with some good moving tides and water. So redfish, big redfish being caught right now on the opposite side of the bay from me, and also up north end of Old Tampa Bay and Weeden Island area. So guys want to do that. If they're looking for a few trout, head north, go up to Honeymoon Island, Antelope Key, Caladese, all up in that area around Clearwater, Dunedin, and Tarpon. There's good fishing for trout.
That's fantastic, Ray. I haven't heard you in this good a mood in a long time, and a little bit of good weather will do that for us. There's no doubt. There was a good batch of mahi caught off in Jacksonville yesterday. I've been rigging baits all day. I can't wait for sunrise to get here. Ray, we appreciate it so much, as always. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Yes, sir, you can. And be good, be careful, and if you can't be back.
Thank you, Captain Markham. Talk to you later. It's time to head on up to William Toney country up in the Big Bend. But before we do that, let's get a word from Shimano. You know, I'm not sure who first coined the phrase, the only thing saltwater can't destroy is saltwater, but I do know what it meant to the engineers at Shimano. That sounded like a challenge, and their response is now on the shelves of Strike Zone Fishing. The new spinning reels are called Twin Power, and they feature the infinity drive, which means there's not a fish around they can't stop. That's because of their new heat sink drag, which means a hot wahoo or a tuna can run as fast as they want, and you never, ever have to worry about your drag heating up. Even better, the new Twin Powers are built to become the best reels ever at fighting saltwater intrusion. Listen, everybody's heard or experienced problems with seeing the latest and greatest actually on the shelves of your local tackle shop. Well, I'm here to tell you, Shimano's partnership with Strike Zone means you can always count on finding the latest and greatest, just like the Twin Spin, lining the shelves of both Strike Zone locations. Our thanks to Ray Markham for a great West Central report. I haven't heard him in that good a mood in a long time. I'll bet you I know somebody else that's in a good mood, particularly when it comes to their fishing. That's one Captain William Toney. William, how are you?
I am happy as can be, Rick. I have just, the winds have subsided, and it has been a spring day like I just could ever imagine. We've got great tides coming this week here on the Big Bend, and everything is pushing through. In fact, I even got word that there were tarpon south of us, along with a bunch of Jack Crevalle, but right in the center of them was a big old pot of permit. So, when you start to hear that stuff coming up our coast, everybody gets all happy and perky.
Yep. It's the time of year for that. This is the best 3 or 4 week stretch we get right here. It's even pretty. I mean, even everything blooming. I mean, just can't find a better time to fish.
And even our seagrass beds out there. I always tell people, like, when the tarpon start to show up on down here toward Chazawiska, the bottom will get this. It almost, the only way I can describe it. I'm not a botanist, scientist, or aquatic manager, any of that thing, but it looks like duckweed. It actually grows on our hard bottom here, and it makes these beautiful, like, lime green patches out there, and it just stands out. And when I start to see that grow on our hard bottom, that means the tarpon aren't far behind. There's trout, there's Jack Crevalle, there's permits, you got the snook, you got cobia coming through. So everything in the world is just as it is on land with all our blossoms and everything. You can see it on our bottom out here along the Big Bend.
Oh, boy, I tell you, that's fantastic. How's the cobia situation looking, William? It has not been a banner year on this coast, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's so far right now, I've heard of 174 pounder being caught and a few other ones that have been brought in that, were keeper size and everything. But as of being last week, it was too dangerous of conditions to get offshore.
Oh, yeah.
So this week, I think, will be the week where they start coming in. And all the way through June, we got a big, it's basically about 37 years now has been out of McRae's, but It's across the river at Crumps, a big cobia tournament. And it's always the 1st of June. It seems like the time the tournament is, and when all these big fish come through, and when they kind of hang for a little bit, and then about the end of June, they're kind of up in the Panhandle and past us.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. Well, you've got time then. They're not.
Yep, we got time.
They're not due for you. Up here, over in Northeast Florida, it almost looks like it might be just about over. I've talked to a boat offshore today, and he had been working the rip and looking at the rays and everything all day. Hadn't seen a legal fish, and it's been a whole lot of short fish up here. It hadn't been very many legals at all. So that's not good.
Well, you know what I will tell you, though, we're about to run out of time for here. This is the last week of the month, so we're coming up to the closure of our snook season. So, you know, there's a lot of times I think that I have maybe killed about 3 of them since March 1st, and they've been very good. And one of them, I was lucky enough that we had a shore lunch that day, and 5 of us devoured him like butter candy. It was pretty good.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, this is the last week for snook, and our slot here is 28 to 33. So, you know, if those who really have never had a slot snook and are really trying, you know, whitebait is really the secret, and it's really not a secret. They've used it for eons down south of us in Tampa, but because the way things have changed up here, more snook, there's actually some whitebait. One of the areas that you may be able to catch some is the scallop rack between Homosassa and Crystal River. It's just a big old aluminum structure out there that they use. UF used it to seed our scallops. So it's this abandoned structure, and sometimes the whitebait get there. And if you know how to use a sabiki, you can get them. The key to it is you got to have a very good live well. And the thing about live bait, I can tell you, is that if you use the whitebait for, you know, threadfin herring for snook, they can't resist herself, and it's almost cheating. So, you know, all ours were caught on artificial, but this week, if you really want to try to get one, that would be the ticket to get your keeper snook.
And now let me ask you something. Do they do better if you sabiki them than they do if you cast net them?
You know what? I have never cast net them before. I have sabiki them, and it's kind of, you know, in the last 10 years here, we always have had them. And in fact, the one time, I'll tell you a quick story about inshore grouper. I was further down south toward Newport Richie and Bayport, which that's the cutoff line. And there was inshore grouper fishing. I watched a guy probably 20 years ago with a giant live well, and he took that thread fin and threw all over the rock. I just cast plugs across, and it erupted like crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, and those grouper went goo goo gaga, and those people caught their fish very quick. Now, I don't know about cast netting, except that they seem not to hold in one place very long. So it may be better, you know, if you're real quick with the cast net, which up here in my area, you know, you got to watch out for hangs on the bottom. But it seems to be the sabiki is the choice, because if the pod of fish is moving along, you can stay up with them and have 2 casters throwing in. Use a small weight, a 3/8 ounce or something on the bottom of the sabiki, and slowly reel it through the pod of them and load it up and then bring it on board. You might get a chance to make one good throw with a cast net sometimes, and that may be a little bit later in the year, but here at the end of April, there are not so many to choose from. And if you miss them, you may set them down and not get another shot.
That's right, Cap. That's great advice. I'm with you. I'm sabiking them. Thank you so much, William. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
I'll be right down here in downtown Homosassa.
I'm one day closer to coming scalloping with you, by the way, and I can't wait.
Me either, bud. I can't wait to be out in the boat with you.
Thank you, William. Okay, that means it's time to head up into the northwest section. But before we do that, let's get a word from the Castaway Hat Company. You know, I bet you don't even remember the days that all us cool kids would rub baby oil mixed with iodine to help us get even darker in the summertime. being burnt was cool. And even if you weren't a surfing legend, you sure looked the part. Oh, man, if a lot of us old guys paid the price for our vanity, we never knew the skin problems and health damage that awaited us. Today's fishermen have the option of being so much healthier in the sun than we ever thought of, thanks in no small part to the Castaway Hat Company, who not only provides our podcasters with the Castaway straw hats they wear every day, but they make the coolest prints on the underside of the brims you ever saw. You may think your Bimini top or T-top blocks the sun, but as an awful lot of us OGs can tell you, you can't have enough protection from sun damage. Do what we do. Put on the sunblock and put on your Castaway straw hat. You'll look the part of today's best anglers, and you'll even be helping the environment. For every Castaway hat sold, the Castaway Company will pay to have 1 pound of trash removed from our waterways. The burning Florida sun won't be roasting your skin, and believe you me, when you age a few years, you'll thank us old guys with a lifetime on the water by going to CastawayHatCompany.com and get your best sun protection today. That's CastawayHatCo.com. Castaway Hat Company, a hat for every adventure. Our thanks to William Toney for great news from the Big Bend area. I got a funny feeling Northwest's awfully good, too. How we doing, Captain Kevin Lanier?
Hey, Captain Rick, we're doing just fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Tell me about KC's Sport Fishing Adventures.
Well, we have been busy. You would think red snapper season's here the way it's been. They're
coming.
just absolutely insane. Yeah, we got the announcement today for the federal. They announced the state, a couple days ago. So we're going to federally fish from June 1st to August 19th. So we're going to have a good season, long season.
All of us on the East Coast hate your guts.
I understand.
Just so you know.
But it's like every good politician says, I don't make the rules.
Yep. You know how many days we get, right? 3.
Yeah, about 3.
Yeah, and
3 or 5.
And they are threatening that we may not get our 3 this year because they say we caught too many during our 3 last year.
Unbelievable. You can't help but catch fish.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just nuts. But let's talk about something better than that. Tell me about your fishing.
Well, fishing has been really good. I mean, we've started to pick up Spanish mackerel are in here thick. Pompano fishing's it's in its wheelhouse right now. Sheep's head's starting to slow down a little bit. Red fishing's starting to slow down a little bit. But offshore's picking up. If you can get through the red snapper, there's plenty of beeliners and vermilions to be taken. And there's a few kings showing up to the west of us, so we anticipate some kings out here pretty soon. Cobia, we're hearing more and more cobia being spotted out in the offshore. So they're here. I mean, it's as well as I do. Water temperature is 73 degrees, so it's only going to get better from here.
That's right. Now, let me ask you something, Cap. Our cobia season here hasn't been much. Is yours looking better, or is it just starting, or what stage are you in?
Water temp here hits 70. The rays show up. We start to see them, but our cobia fishing here has not been anything like it was for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I hear stories of how it was before I got here. I've never seen it anywhere near that way. It's really good to our west, and it's really good down in the Keys. But for some reason, I just think, I think those nearshore cobia are, we need to give them a break. The ones we're catching are out on the structures and the reefs out in deeper water.
Yep, I got you. All right, well, enjoy your how many days snapper season? Almost.
I can't count that high.
Oh, shut
I run
up.
out of toes and fingers.
You know what you can do, Kevin Lanier? You can shut up is what you can do. All right, buddy. Well, please tell me we can check with you next week. I'll probably be over being mad at you by then.
Well, I promise you one thing. Next week, I'll know how many days of red snapper we have so I can tell you.
Okay, Kev. I look forward to it. Thank you, Kevin. Our thanks to Kevin Lanier for a great report. Man, every time I hear how many snapper days they get in the Gulf, it just breaks my heart. I'll bet you Tyler Massey's excited about it. Talk to me, Captain Tyler.
Hey, Rick. Snapper got announced for us. Our federally permitted charter boats we're going to get from June 1st to August 18th, I believe, and that's like unprecedented stuff. You know, that's the most days that anyone's going to have for, you know, in the last maybe, I don't know, 8 years or so.
Did I mention we get 3 days if we get 3 this year?
Yeah, that's pitiful.
Yep. Yeah, I tell you what, it's crazy. A friend of mine was reeling in a Spanish mackerel not too long ago, and a big old fat sow came up and ate it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, Tyler. It's gotten so ridiculous you can't fathom it. All right, let's talk about something better. Tell me how your fishing's been this week.
So yeah, you know, fishing's been getting a little better. You know, our inshore fishing has been picking up. Just over the last couple of days, the speckled trout are kind of getting in their springtime areas. You know, we're catching them on some grass flats, the mouths of some bayous and around some structure in the bay. So that's been what we're starting to start fishing for, using live shrimp, lures, and live croakers. So the variety of baits and lures and stuff will work, and it's been getting better every day, it seems like. So speckled trout's been, when we're going after another fish that we're just now starting to show up is some flounder, mostly around Pensacola Pass, fishing Carolina rigs on the bottom, and fishing around structure near our pass, and it's been good. The limit is gone up. It's 14 inches as a keeper now. A lot of the Gulf flounder we're catching this time of year are right there, real close to the limit. So not all of them are keepers, but definitely a few mixed in.
I gotcha. Okay. When are guys going to start running to the fads? It looks like we're getting into maybe a little better weather pattern here.
Yeah, I think the next week or so is going to be when people start. We got some a weather window coming up, and the guys are definitely going to be heading there in this weekend and the next few days. There's been a few wahoo being caught, even around the fads and also around our edge, which is our drop off from about 180 foot to 200 or 215, and they've just been trolling high speed lures, lip plugs around the edge. They've been catching a few, so I think people can expect some blue marlin shots, some dolphin shots, and some wahoo shots at those fads. So definitely something that it's about to kick off for sure.
Good deal. You seeing much for cobia?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a spurt here, catching a few cobia. Most of the boats are seeing a couple of trips, catching a couple. I made one trip in the last few days, and we saw one and caught one, which numbers aren't that great, but hey, if you're going cobia fishing and catch a cobia, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, it kind of sounds that way.
Also, the beach piers are seeing some cobia every day. A little bit more competition out there on the piers. There's a pier in Navarre, one in Pensacola Beach, one in Fort Walton, and they are seeing a few fish and having a few chances. Also catching some pompano and Spanish mackerel out there on the piers as well.
Gotcha. Outstanding. All right, well, let's enjoy this little break we got in the weather coming up and get out on the ocean and get our revenge on them for a very windy winter time. That's for sure.
We're gonna give it a shot anyway.
I'm with you. Thank you, Captain Tyler. We appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you, Rick.
Take care, buddy. Captain Tyler Massey wraps up our trip around the state this evening. It's been a lot of fun. Our special thanks to Jean McElroy, who is a kayaker extraordinaire. Man, she lives in that kayak, and I appreciated her advice on what to look for and decide whether you want to go with a lot of equipment or be a minimalist like me. I'm more the minimalist type. I want my fly rod, a couple of extra flies, and my paddle. Hey, I tell you what, it's been a lot of fun. We got some good news this week. Southwest Florida, a 27-inch trout. Man, you got to understand, those guys went years with no trout, and now they're starting to come back, and it sure was good to hear Greg Stamper so fired up about it. This week's Action Spotter was brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature together. By Tournament Master Chum, always the best chum on earth, all right. By Nosara, Paradise Rentals, your dream vacation. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. By Young Boats, you want the finest in flats, bay, and offshore hybrids. Check out youngboats.com. And by the Castaway Hat Company. That's the hat that's helping us save our seas. Until next week, for Florida Sportsman Magazine, I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hope you get out on the water. We'll talk with you then.